Imagine pouring your heart into a moment that's supposed to be perfect, only to have it crushed by the weight of others' opinions. What happens when a simple gesture of love turns into public shame? This is the story of Tom and Sarah, a couple whose engagement story took a shocking turn, leaving everyone stunned by what happened next. Stay with us to find out how Sarah's unexpected response changed everything. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a twist like this. Tom had always been a man of simple means. For 3 years, he had been in a loving relationship with Sarah, a woman who brought light into every room she entered. Tom wasn't the type to splurge on luxuries. He worked a modest, low-paying job at a local hardware store, but what he lacked in wealth, he made up for in heart. His love for Sarah ran deep, and it was something he never took for granted. Tom's days were long, filled with hard work, but every evening he looked forward to spending time with Sarah. Their relationship was built on small gestures of kindness and mutual respect. Still, there was one thing Tom couldn't stop thinking about: the day he would propose to Sarah. He knew that Sarah deserved the world, but he simply didn't have the means to give it to her. For weeks he scrimped and saved every penny he could, determined to buy her an engagement ring that would symbolize his love for her. Despite his limited finances, Tom was convinced that the value of the ring didn't matter as much as the promise it represented. To him, it wasn't about the price tag, it was about the commitment, the future, and the life they would build together. After careful thought, Tom decided on a simple, modest ring, nothing flashy but perfect in its own way. He didn't have much, but what he had, he was willing to give. And so, with all his love and determination, he planned the perfect moment to propose. It would be a moment neither of them would ever forget. Tom had spent weeks thinking about this moment, and now it had finally arrived. He walked into a small, family-owned jewelry store with a sense of nervous excitement. The bell above the door chimed softly as he stepped inside, and the smell of polished metal and delicate gems filled the air. The sales assistant, a kind older woman with a gentle smile, greeted him immediately. "I'm looking for an engagement ring," Tom said, his voice a little shaky. "Something simple but special." The assistant nodded, her eyes warm with understanding. She led him to a display of rings, each one more beautiful than the last. Tom's heart raced as he gazed at the options. Some were dazzling with diamonds, others glittered with intricate designs. They were stunning, but they were also far beyond his budget. He wasn't looking for anything extravagant. Tom had always believed that love wasn't measured by the price of a gift, but by the thought and effort behind it. Still, he couldn't help but feel a pang of doubt. Would Sarah like this ring? Would it be enough? The assistant showed him a few more rings, each one more modest than the last. Tom's fingers lingered over a simple, elegant band with a small stone at the center. It wasn't much, but something about it felt right. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't the most expensive, but it spoke to Tom's heart. This was the ring that symbolized everything he felt for Sarah, the simplicity of their love and the depth of his commitment. He glanced at the price tag, feeling a mixture of relief and guilt. It was affordable, but just barely. Tom had been scrimping and saving for weeks, cutting back on everything to make sure he could afford it. His savings weren't much, but he had enough to make this moment possible. The sales assistant gave him a knowing smile, sensing his hesitation. "It's a lovely choice," she said kindly. Tom nodded, taking a deep breath. He could already imagine Sarah's smile when she saw the ring. It wasn't the most expensive piece in the store, but it was perfect for them. With a sense of pride, he made the purchase, convinced that this simple gesture would speak volumes to Sarah about his love and dedication. The day Tom had been waiting for had finally arrived. He woke up early, barely able to contain his excitement. Today he would ask Sarah to be his forever. He had planned everything down to the smallest detail, a quiet, intimate evening where he would propose. It wasn't a grand gesture, but to Tom, it was perfect. He had chosen a little bistro where they had shared their first date, a place filled with memories of their time together. Tom spent the morning pacing nervously, checking and rechecking every plan. He made sure the ring was safely tucked in his pocket, ready for the perfect moment. By the time he was ready to pick Sarah up, his heart was racing with anticipation. This was the moment he had dreamed of, the moment that would change everything. When Sarah opened the door, her face lit up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She looked beautiful as always, but tonight there was something extra, an excitement that matched his own. She wore a simple, elegant dress that seemed to glow under the soft light of the porch. "You look amazing," Tom said, his voice filled with admiration. Sarah smiled warmly, blushing slightly. "You're not so bad yourself," she teased, but Tom could see the joy in her eyes. They headed to the bistro, chatting and laughing as they made their way through the evening. Tom couldn't help but notice how happy Sarah was. She seemed to be in high spirits, completely unaware of the storm of emotions swirling inside him. For Tom, this was a moment of deep love and commitment, and he couldn't wait to share that with her. Over dinner, the conversation flowed effortlessly. They reminisced about their early days together, sharing stories that made them both laugh. But as the meal came to an end, Tom's nerves began to creep in. The excitement was still there, but a small nagging doubt began to form. Was this enough? Would she love the ring? And most terrifying of all, would she say yes? The moment Tom had been planning for so long was finally close, and with it came a rush of anxiety he hadn't expected. After dinner, Tom led Sarah to a quiet park at the edge of town, a peaceful spot with a breathtaking view of the city lights below. The park was nearly empty, save for a few scattered couples walking hand in hand. It was serene, perfect for a moment like this. The gentle rustling of the trees and the soft chirping of crickets created the perfect backdrop for Tom's proposal. Tom's heart pounded in his chest as he led Sarah to a bench near a small pond. The glow from the nearby streetlights reflected off the water, adding a magical quality to the evening. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had planned everything to perfection, or so he thought. Now was the time to make it real.
He turned to Sarah, his voice shaky with emotion.
"Sarah, you've been the best part of my life these last 3 years. I can't imagine spending another day without you. Will you marry me?" Sarah's eyes widened, and for a brief moment, she looked surprised, her hands going to her chest. She smiled, her face lighting up as she said, "Yes, of course I will." Tom felt a rush of relief and happiness flood over him. He was grinning ear to ear as he pulled out the ring from his pocket, eager to slide it onto her finger. He had envisioned this moment for so long, and now that it was happening, everything felt perfect. But as Sarah looked at the ring, her expression faltered. Tom froze. The smile that had been plastered across her face seemed to waver, just for a moment. She blinked a few times, staring at the small, simple band in her hand as if processing something Tom couldn't understand. There was a long silence between them, an uncomfortable one. Tom's heart sank. He had expected joy, excitement, maybe even tears. But this wasn't what he had imagined. Trying to hide the moment of uncertainty, Sarah forced a smile. "It's beautiful," she said softly, but there was something in her voice that Tom couldn't ignore. It didn't sound quite right. He could see the glint of disappointment in her eyes, and it cut through him like a knife. "Sarah?" Tom asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Is everything okay?" She paused, looking down at the ring again. "It's just, well, I always imagined something, a little more, something a bit bigger, more special for such an important moment." Tom's chest tightened. The words hung in the air like a weight he couldn't lift. He had known the ring wasn't extravagant, but he had hoped it would be enough to show Sarah how much he loved her, even if it wasn't a diamond-encrusted masterpiece. Now those words felt like a dagger to his heart. His excitement quickly turned into doubt, the joy he had felt moments before starting to slip away. He swallowed hard, trying to shake off the sting. I thought this was enough." Sarah's gaze softened, but there was still an unease in her eyes. She didn't say anything more, but the air between them felt heavy. Tom's heart dropped, and in that instant, everything he had worked so hard for seemed to hang in the balance. The following day, Tom and Sarah attended a family gathering at her parents' house. It was supposed to be a joyful occasion, a chance to celebrate their engagement with the people who mattered most to Sarah. Tom had been looking forward to it, hoping the warmth of the family atmosphere would help him forget the awkwardness of the night before. At first, everything seemed perfect. Sarah proudly showed off her new engagement ring, beaming with excitement as she recounted the story of Tom's proposal. Her family gathered around, smiling and congratulating them both. Tom felt a sense of relief as Sarah's happiness seemed to overshadow the doubts that had crept into his mind. But then something shifted. One of Sarah's cousins, A young woman with a sarcastic edge took a closer look at the ring and raised an eyebrow. "Oh, this is cute," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "Looks like something you'd find in a discount store." Laughter erupted from the group. Tom tried to laugh along, but his smile felt forced, a pit growing in his stomach. He could feel the heat creeping up his neck. The words stung more than he expected. He had worked so hard to make this moment special, and yet here he was, the object of ridicule. Before he could recover, another relative joined in. "You couldn't afford something nicer?" the woman asked, eyeing the simple band with a raised eyebrow. "A girl like Sarah deserves something more, don't you think?" Tom's heart dropped into his stomach. He forced a smile, but the laughter around him felt cold, like a slap to the face. Sarah chuckled nervously, trying to brush off the comments, but Tom could tell she wasn't entirely comfortable either. She laughed along, trying to make light of it, but Tom could sense her unease. The conversation soon grew uncomfortable, with more people chiming in. Someone joked about how the ring looked like it belonged to a teenager, and another comment about how the stone was almost invisible. Tom felt his cheeks burn with shame. Every word felt like it was chipping away at his dignity, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He had never felt so humiliated in his life. He tried to shrink into the background, his heart sinking with every passing comment. The room felt smaller, and he felt more and more like an outsider. Sarah continued to smile, but Tom could see the guilt in her eyes. She wasn't the one who had done anything wrong, but somehow, it felt like her family had turned on him, leaving him to defend something that wasn't even his fault. As the conversation continued, Tom remained silent. The laughter and light-hearted jabs grew louder, but all he could do was stand there, his thoughts clouded by the sting of their words. Every ounce of pride he had felt the night before had vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of embarrassment and inadequacy. The moment that was supposed to be a celebration of love had turned into a public shaming, and there was no way to escape it. After the gathering, the ride home was painfully quiet. Tom could feel the weight of everything that had happened, and the sting from the remarks still lingered in the air. Sarah sat beside him, her fingers twisted in her lap, her eyes fixed out the window. Tom's heart felt heavy as he gripped the steering wheel, the words of Sarah's relatives echoing in his mind. When they finally arrived at Sarah's apartment, Tom couldn't hold it in anymore. He turned to her, his voice shaking with a mixture of hurt and frustration. "Sarah, what happened back there? How could you just laugh along with them like that? It wasn't funny. You know that, right?" Sarah flinched at the sharpness in his tone, her eyes avoiding his. "No, Sarah," he interrupted, his voice cracking. "You saw how they treated me. You saw the way they made fun of the ring. They made me feel like I wasn't enough. And you didn't say anything. You didn't defend me." His words were coming out faster now, the flood of emotions overwhelming him. "I thought it was about love, but they turned it into a joke." Sarah took a deep breath, but instead of the words Tom expected, her shoulders slumped in defeat. She didn't argue or try to explain herself right away. For a long moment, she just stared at the ground, her hands wringing together, as though they didn't know what to do with themselves. "I'm sorry," Sarah said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen that way. I didn't want to hurt you." Tom felt a pang in his chest at the sight of her distress, but his own pain didn't go away. He folded his arms across his chest, still struggling to contain the hurt that seemed to keep building up inside him. "But you didn't stop it. You didn't stop them." Sarah's face crumpled, and she rushed to Tom, taking his hands in hers. "I was embarrassed," she confessed, her voice breaking. "When my family made those comments, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want them to think I wasn't proud of you, or of the ring, but in that moment, I let their opinions get to me. I shouldn't have, and I should have stood up for you." Tom felt the warmth of her hands, but it didn't erase the feeling of betrayal he had carried with him since the gathering. He swallowed hard, trying to process everything. "But I thought you would understand, that you'd see how much I sacrificed to make it special for you." "I know," Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry, Tom. I got caught up in the wrong things. The ring, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is you, and the love we share. I was wrong to focus on the material part of it. I know that now." Her voice trembled, and Tom could see the sincerity in her eyes as tears welled up. The ring is just a symbol, a tiny thing compared to everything you've done for me. You've worked so hard for this. I should have been grateful for that, instead of letting anyone make me question it. I promise, I love you with all my heart. The price of the ring never mattered. What matters is that we're starting this journey together. She pulled him closer, her tears spilling over. I'm sorry for not appreciating the sacrifice you made for me, for not standing up for you. I won't let anyone's opinions, no matter who they are, affect us like this again. I'll never let anything come between us again. Tom felt the weight of her words, and despite the ache in his heart, he could feel a glimmer of hope. Sarah had made a mistake, but in this moment, she was owning up to it. She was saying the words he needed to hear. I love you, Sarah, Tom whispered, his voice raw but sincere. I just want us to be happy. I don't need a big flashy ring. I need you, that's all. Sarah smiled through her tears, her grip on his hands tightening. And you'll always have me, no matter what anyone says. Tom pulled her into a hug, feeling the love between them strengthen. They had been through something difficult, but it was in these quiet moments, in the raw vulnerability, that he realized their love wasn't about the things they owned, or the opinions of others. It was about the promises they made to each other, and that was worth more than anything else. The next morning, after a quiet night of reflection, Sarah surprised Tom with a revelation that took him completely off guard. He had woken up feeling uncertain about everything, still reeling from the emotions of the past few days. They had been through so much together, but the sting of the previous evening still lingered in his heart. As they sat at the kitchen table, Sarah's eyes sparkled with something he hadn't seen in a while, a sense of excitement. She was acting a little nervous, her fingers twisting around a small gift box that she had kept hidden in her bag. Tom, she said, her voice soft yet filled with warmth. I've been thinking about something. I know things weren't perfect with the ring, and I've been feeling bad about it, but I wanted to show you that I've been paying attention, that I've been thinking about you too. She opened the small box in her hands, revealing a beautiful simple bracelet. It was delicate, crafted with care, and had a small charm that Tom couldn't quite identify at first. It wasn't flashy or extravagant, but it was perfect. I've been saving up for months, Sarah explained, her voice wavering slightly. I wanted to buy you something special, something that showed how much I care. I know the ring didn't turn out the way we both wanted, but this is for you, a reminder that what matters is our love, not the things we have. Tom's heart swelled with emotion. He stared at the bracelet, his eyes filling with tears. He had never expected anything in return, never even thought Sarah would feel the need to buy him something. But in that moment, he realized that what they shared was more than just the material things. It was the thought, the care, and the love they had for each other that truly mattered. Sarah's Tom whispered, his voice thick with emotion. You didn't have to do this, but this means more than anything. You're everything to me. As Sarah reached over to slip the bracelet onto his wrist, Tom understood that their bond was unbreakable, not because of a ring or a gift, but because of the genuine love they shared, a love that wasn't defined by material possessions. As the days passed, Tom and Sarah found themselves growing closer, their relationship stronger than ever before. The events of the past week had been emotional, challenging, and at times painful, but they had led to something deeper, something that neither of them had fully understood before, the true meaning of love and commitment. Tom couldn't help but reflect on everything that had happened. While the family's cruel remarks had stung, they also served as a reminder of the kind of relationship he wanted with Sarah. It wasn't about the material things, the fancy rings, or the approval of others. It was about the bond they shared, the support they gave one another, and the understanding that no obstacle was too great for their love. He realized that, while he couldn't change the past, the sincerity and honesty they had in their relationship were priceless. Sarah had shown him that, despite her initial disappointment, she valued the thought, the effort, and the sacrifice he had made more than any expensive ring ever could. It wasn't the object that mattered, it was the love behind it, the promise it symbolized. Sarah, on the other hand, had done some soul-searching of her own. She had been embarrassed by the comments of her family, but she knew she couldn't let materialism, or the opinions of others, overshadow her love for Tom. She had learned an important lesson, that love, true love, doesn't come with a price tag. It's not about impressing others or seeking validation. It's about the person you share your life with and the commitment you make to one another. I don't need anything extravagant, Sarah had told Tom one evening as they sat together, the bracelet she had given him still resting gently on his wrist. You've shown me that what we have is worth more than anything money can buy, and I promise I'll never let outside opinions or material things get in the way of our happiness again. Tom smiled, feeling a weight lift off his chest. I love you, he whispered, and that's all that matters. The couple embraced, their hearts full. They knew that their engagement, though unconventional, had become a symbol of something much more significant: growth, understanding, and a deeper connection. Their love wasn't defined by the opinions of others or the value of a ring, it was defined by the way they treated each other, the honesty they shared, and the unwavering commitment they had to one another. Together they walked forward, stronger and more in love than ever before, ready to face whatever challenges life might throw their way. The bond they had formed was unbreakable, and nothing at all could ever change that. Thank you for watching this heartfelt story about love, sacrifice, and the lessons that truly matter. It's a powerful reminder that the best things in life aren't measured by material possessions, but by the love and understanding we share with others. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need a little reminder about what truly matters. And if you want to see more emotional and impactful stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on a new video. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you think Tom and Sarah's relationship grew stronger? Drop a comment below, and let's chat. Thanks for being part of our community. See you in the next story.